What is going on with Hyperliquid? The entire altcoin market is underperforming, yet the Hype token is doing well. Let's have a look at the data most people are not considering. Let's try to figure out what's behind this rally and how much longer this rally might last. This development is significant. This is the Hype token relative to the altcoin market. So we're dividing the Hype price by the others market cap, and it appeared as if we were in a bearish trend. We had lower lows and a quite strong resistance just before the recent rally. We also hit a new all-time high. We are above a quite significant resistance. And this is all happening while apparently the fundamentals of Hyperliquid don't actually look that good. And with that, I mean, for example, this here. That's the tokenomics. How many Hype tokens are circulating over time? The team is now able to cash out regularly. There are Hype unlocks along the way, tens of millions of dollars of potential sales. And while there have been improvements to the tokenomics, as in the team announced it would only unlock 140,000 Hype versus initially the 1.2 million Hypes that were planned. It still means that over time the supply is going up. And so is this yet just another short squeeze? So enough people betting on a falling Hype price because of the token unlocks, and then simply market makers buying up the Hype token in order to squeeze out all of those short positions. Is that's what's going on? The answer is no, I do not think so. Because check this out. This is the funding rate of Hype over time on the perpetual futures. So how much does it cost to bet on rising prices of Hype? And this continues to be positive. This is not necessarily the norm anymore for the altcoin market. Post October 10th, when we had a flash crash in the entire altcoin market, many altcoins subsequently tend to have rather neutral funding rates. Not so for the Hype token. The Hype token continues to see demand on the long side. Enough people bet on rising prices. At the same time, we see that with this rally, we do not necessarily see a strong expansion of open interest. So of the amounts of bets on the Hype price. So this is not just short-term manipulation through the perpetual futures market. This rally is different. The outperformance of almost 100% versus the rest of the altcoin market in the last days. Another sign that this is not just a short squeeze is that there were very few liquidations. Just compare the short liquidations that happened with that rally versus the long liquidations that happened on the 10th of October. Really, the interest in betting on falling prices of Hype was not high at all. So the tokenomics here did not cause the market to be pessimistic about Hyperliquid. But interestingly enough, this rally can also not be attributed towards more usage of the platform. This is the total value locked, the TVL on Hyperliquid over time. And this tended to grow very consistently up until the 10th of October, the flash crash, when many perpetual futures traders got liquidated. That did not help the market as a whole, including Hyperliquid, but the Hype token can suddenly recover, while the usage of the platform did not. Really, what's going on with the current rally is that enough people believe that the team will be able to pull off a strong competitor versus poly market, so a prediction market, a market that allows to bet on various events. This is the poly market TVL over time. There was massive growth up until the US election. Many people bet for and against Donald Trump becoming president. That bet was then resolved, but subsequently poly market was able to grow again. And Hyperliquid announced the launch of HIP4. So an expansion of the protocol, an expansion of the blockchain. It's written on many crypto platforms. Here is that announcement. It's very technical in nature. The important thing is that it's currently being tested. The stablecoin will not be USDC, but USDH, so the native stablecoin of Hyperliquid. And at some point, this prediction market might become permissionless. So everybody can, in theory, create a new bet. And that creates a lot of excitement. Have a look at the trading volume of the Hype token. It's now at all-time highs on the perpetual futures market. It's also elevated on the spot market. I will make a follow-up video. Future updates normally don't show up unless you are subscribed, so feel free to do so. And this rally makes it hard to buy Hyperliquid right now, because this is all just speculation about a future development. I personally prefer price appreciations that are backed by actual usage, not by the hope of future usage. If you have lived through the dot-com bubble and subsequent crisis, you know it's much easier to develop the technology compared to actually getting adoption, to actually get a market running. There were a lot of competitors for eBay, for example, and in the end, only one player survived. Will Hyperliquid be able to not just build the technology, but to actually get market adoption and potentially beat Polymarket? That's still not very clear. The market believes that this is a certainty. The daily RSI is incredibly high, so this price appreciation has been fast. The attention measured in trading volume is also very high, and while the team tries to manage the hype price by not unlocking the supply as quickly as initially planned, we still have to wait and see, because really we have to get adoption in terms of bets being created and proper market making for those bets. Some bets, of course, can be made liquid very easily. For example, the crypto related bets, right? Where will Ethereum's price be? This is simply just binary options pricing. We can get those probabilities just using the Black-Scholes model and be relatively close to a fair pricing. But really what makes Polymarket so interesting and what gives it all of its news coverage are the bets that are much harder to price. For example, I find this quite interesting. Will anybody be jailed over the Epstein disclosures? That probability is only at 14%. So the market very much thinks that there will be zero consequences from the Epstein files. If you disagree, you can turn $1,000 into $6,500. What makes this market also interesting is that we can make spread trades. For example, this is just getting jailed over the Epstein disclosures. This here is getting charged over the Epstein disclosures. So there seems to be a 17% chance of getting charged, but only a 15% chance of getting into jail. So apparently a slight likelihood that the people that are getting charged are not facing jail time. So it's bets like this that make Polymarket interesting, and where it's unclear whether or not Hyperliquid will be able to pull something off that's of similar magnitude, because this is also a game of liquidity. For example, here, if we were to bet $1,000 on this particular outcome, we'd get 8,000 back. But if we were to bet 10,000, we'd only get 56K back. So there isn't necessarily that much liquidity for some bets that are harder to price. So there will not be a very long tail of successful competitors here. There might be one or potentially two winners, but that's about it. If you change this to 20K, you only get 74K in return. And so size does matter when it comes to those prediction markets. And so am I bullish on the price development of the Hype token? I do think that short term this momentum might continue, right? There's still a lot of attention on this. But in the end, we need to see adoption of the actual protocol, of the actual prediction market protocol on Hyperliquid. Will the Hyperliquid team be able to pull off a real competitor to Polymarket? I'm not yet so sure. I have my doubts actually. The technical part is one thing. Creating an actually liquid market is a whole different beast. I'm waiting until the hype dies down and I consider to then open a short position. I'm definitely not buying. I'm simply waiting until this news has trickled throughout the entire crypto market and the buying slows down. By the way, speaking of Hyperliquid, there are two copy trading capital pools on the platform for the premium members. One of them to follow the trend in Bitcoin, another one to follow the long-term underperformance of the altcoin market. There is a 5% deposit tax, there is a 10% share for both of those copy trading pools, but the anticipated return based on backtests is quite high. The Bitcoin capital pool, for example, is making money, while Bitcoin recently crashed quite a bit. The capital pool to bet on falling altcoins relative to the rest of the market is also performing quite well. Here's the same strategy when we traded in 2025, right? Bitcoin fell 25% and we made 17.3%. So feel free to check out Premium. The link to that will pop up here on the screen. If it's your first time here, feel free to subscribe. I publish this regularly. A like would be very much appreciated as well. It helps the channel grow. See you next time on YouTube or see you on Premium. Cheers.